good to go. Karen?
Karen is frozen on my screen. Good to go, Karen?
Good to go.
Thank you. All right, I will call the meeting of our regular council meeting of Monday, May the 11th to order. Ms. Needham, are there any late items to introduce?
There are none, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Could I have someone bring forward adoption of the agenda, please? Anyone? Thank you, Councillor Van Elfen. Seconded by Councillor Barkwell. Thank you. All in favor? Any? Okay, that carries. Thank you. And then we have a number of minutes to adopt. The regular evening meeting, April the 14th and the 27th, and special council meetings of April 8th, 17th, 24th, and May the 1st. Are there any changes that are required on any of those minutes? All right, could I have someone bring that forward, please? Thank you for moving it, Councillor Van Elfen, seconded by Councillor Patton. Thank you. All in favor? There seems to be a delay. Okay, I'm going to call for if there are any people opposed. Please unmute yourself. Okay, so I'm assuming that all are in favor of that. So the minutes have been adopted. Now on to my mayor's report. I apologize. Last time was nice and short. This time is not. I hope everyone had a great Okanagan sunshiny weekend. Although provincial orders require us to restrict in-person events and gatherings, many have embraced virtual functions, and my mayoral activities over the past 2 weeks certainly reflect that. On Wednesday, April the 29th, I attended the Southern Ontario Local Government Association, SILGA, executive meeting. Out of that meeting, one of the convention sponsors has offered to fund a speaker or two for the SILGA membership. And after much discussion, we directed the executive director to submit a list of suggestions or we'll follow. Because we've lost the convention for this year, we're looking at having an education session perhaps in the fall. Also, the executive decided to forego compensation for mileage or meals through to December the 20th, whether or not we are able to meet for the end of the year. Later that day, I joined Mayor McCordoff and Mayor Vasilaki, MLA Dan Ashton, and MP Richard Cannings at a virtual town hall hosted by Community Foundation of South Okanagan Similkameen. We were asked to give a 10-minute presentation on what has been done to protect and advocate for constituents during the pandemic. Also on April the 29th, I attended the virtual ambassador program meeting to give the candidates my perspectives on the impacts, both positive and negative, of COVID-19 in Summerland. This was followed by an interesting discussion on how the program and the candidates themselves have adjusted to the pandemic. The final event for the 2019-2020 program was scheduled for last weekend, but they are now tentatively planning to crown the new Summerland representatives this fall. On April the 30th, Councillor Holmes and I attended a special RDOS corporate services meeting. I left the meeting early to attend the AGM and executive meeting for the Southern Ontario Municipal Employers Association meeting. That afternoon, I attended a presentation of the South Okanagan Food Hub project made by Jane Campardo on our behalf, and that was made to key stakeholders. Friday morning, I attended a special council meeting, followed by a preview of the Okanagan Basin Water Board's Okanagan Flood Story website. This is primarily a tool for local governments to use when making land use decisions, particularly in floodplains. But the site also has a lot of information about high water in the Okanagan Basin, including history, and includes a tool for private property owners to put their address in to determine their risk of flooding under varying conditions. The website is called okanaganfloodstory.ca, and it was released to the public at a virtual media event on May the 6th. Last Monday, May the 4th, we reconvened the April 27th regular council meeting to complete the agenda. The next day, I attended the joint Okanagan Basin Water Board and Water Stewardship Council meeting. This joint meeting with the technical advisory group to the OBWB is held once each year. Two items of note. First, staff will be sending another letter to the BC Minister of Environment and Climate Change Strategy, George Heyman, urging the province to take all necessary action to prevent zebra and quagga mussels from being introduced into BC water bodies. The economic impacts these invasive mussels would have on the Okanagan would only add to the already significant impacts of the pandemic. Secondly, staff has established an ad hoc committee in response to the board's request for options to address current and future Okanagan hydrometric information requirements. This information is essential for a number of water management topics, including local government infrastructure and environmental flow needs. Still with the OBWB, the Make Water Work program will be doing a virtual launch this year. Related to that, Okanagan mayors were asked to create a short video pledging to use water wisely this summer. My thanks to Summerland's Brandon Steele for offering the district videography services for free so I could get my piece taped and submitted. The program launches next week, at which time I encourage all Summerland residents to visit makewaterwork.ca to enter your pledge. It would be fantastic if Summerland could be the winners of the Make Water Work program this year. It requires all of us to just go on the website and make a pledge. And finally, while I'm still speaking about water, I would like to congratulate Krista Derrickson of the West Bank First Nation for being a finalist in Water Canada's 2020 Waters Next Awards. These awards are given annually to individuals and companies that have had a positive impact on the water industry in Canada and beyond. Ms. Derrickson was nominated in the category of People Water Operator for her work with Indigenous Services Canada. Krista is the alternate OBWB director for the Okanagan Nation Alliance. On May the 6th, I attended the province's joint technical freshette teleconference with pertinent district staff. An operational update on the freshette is part of this evening's agenda. Councillor Patton and I attended the Development Process Improvement Advisory Committee later that day on May the 6th. May the 7th, Councillor Holmes and I attended the RDOS board meeting, and later in the afternoon, our CAO and I joined the teleconference call with Minister Robinson and Emergency Management BC. And I'm not sure if Anthony has updates on that, but any in my report, long enough as it is. Finally, Summerland, as we head into phase 2 of the province's Reopen BC plan, on behalf of Council, I again thank you for your continued efforts to slow the transmission of the coronavirus. It is encouraging to hear that restrictions are easing, but let's continue to make the right choices so we don't jeopardize our collective efforts or the health and safety of frontline workers. Be safe and continued health.
CAO.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Do you want to first maybe deal with the
oh, I forgot.
Snow Angel item on
yes,
your report?
Sorry, I forgot. So I have asked Councillor Patton if he would help me with this. And the Snow Angel certificates are people that are awarded to people that have been nominated by their neighbors or others in the community for really being a snow angel. So shoveling their driveways, helping people out during the winter. And this year there were 44 people that received certificates, some more than once even. And I would like to ask Councillor Patton if he could choose a number between 1 and 44, and then our CAO will, all of the certificates have been copied, and there they are, and they have numbers on them, and he will find the corresponding number and announce the winner. The winner will receive a $50 gift certificate to Home Hardware. Okay, Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Too bad we couldn't give out 44 gift certificates. Our community stands proud with these snow angels, and thank you very much. I will go for between 1 and 44, number 37, please.
Thank you.
That must be his age.
Why, thank you, Councillor Holmes.
Okay, so the winner is Ron and Jason Smith. So I'll see that up on the screen.
Yes, thank you.
So
Ron and Jason, thank you.
So we'll get in touch with Ron and Jason and make sure they get the gift certificate to Home Hardware.
Great. And thank you again. I add that to Councillor Patton's thank you to all of the people that helped out their friends and neighbors and family, I guess, during the winter that we had. All right. Thank you for reminding me, CAO, and now it's your time in the spotlight.
Hey, thank you, Mayor Boot. So just to follow on what Mayor Boot mentioned relating to BC's recovery plan or restart plan. So we put some information on our Facebook page, just providing a link to that document for the community. We're in the process of reviewing the plan itself, each of our district departments, going through that document, looking at how it impacts our operations and some of the decisions we've made over the last couple of weeks. So we're reviewing all of our operations, making sure that any reopening plans are in line with obviously the provincial requirements, making sure we're here to support our businesses and our residents through the reopening process, whether it's on a district level or the businesses as they reestablish themselves in the community, which will take a lot of effort and be an important process over the next few weeks. So working with our local and regional partners and regional municipalities to ensure some consistency around messaging and communications, we're looking at all of our facilities and the status that they currently sit at right now. With regards to Municipal Hall and the works yards, we're in the process of some operational assessments, looking at risks and identifying what opportunities there may be to change the current status of those facilities. So we should have some more information on that over the coming days and week. The information that I know the community is certainly looking to us for is around our parks and recreation and looking at how we can respond to the needs of the BC's, the province's restart program, but also the needs of our community, keeping it healthy and making sure that any changes to what we have in place right now takes into account the safety of the community in light of the provincial requirements. So as it stands right now, we have our parks all open to the community for passive use only. The active parks obviously closed, playgrounds closed, etc., as they've been for the last few weeks. Beaches are open, trails are open, the boat launch is open, and those are being monitored by our bylaw team over the last few weeks, and really happy to say that we've had no significant compliance issues with the provincial orders, which is good. Based on the BC Restart program and plan that's been launched, as I said, we're in the process of reviewing that. But looking at the level 2 or phase 2 openings of some of our facilities over the next week and a half into the future as we look forward. Looking at various protocols in place, again, working with our regional partners to make sure that there's a consistent message where we can. Some of the things we're looking at right now in terms of the phase 2, which would be a mid-May and onward opening, looking at our outdoor washrooms. So looking at opening them within our parks under obviously strict protocols, working with the province on those. Some of our active park spaces, tennis courts, pickleball, the campground pickleball is another example that we're looking at, the skate park as well. And making sure that before we announce any of those openings, there's the appropriate protocols in place before we move ahead with those, whether it be hand sanitation in place, washroom facilities, the appropriate protocols, whether it's staff monitoring some of those facilities, ensuring compliance. They're the sort of things that we're in the process of reviewing to make sure that we're able to look at those. And obviously the financial situation as well. We've had been through a process where we do have some temporary layoffs. Some of these openings may trigger staff coming back to the organization as well. And that's something that we're going to be looking at, obviously, from a resource needs, from a financial perspective, given some of the financial constraints that we're dealing with and some of the projections that we're looking at as a district. Within the phase 2 opening plan that the province has launched, art centers and museums are included in that those components. So we'll be working with those organizations to make sure that before any plans are put in place or before any openings are launched, that they have the appropriate COVID protocols in place, and we work with each of those organizations before that takes place. The looking out to June 1st and beyond in terms of level 3 or phase 3 openings, looking at the Peach Orchard Campground, some of the more organized recreation components that we have in the community, sports fields, the basketball courts, volleyball courts, even some of the park gates to Giant's Head and the sports fields. We're going to be looking at, again, what protocols we can put in place to make sure that those openings take place in a safe and secure manner, obviously with the safety and health of the community in mind. Playgrounds, spray parks. Our manager of recreation has been working very closely with the BC Parks and Recreation Association, who have been working with all municipalities in British Columbia around opening protocols for recreation facilities. So we've got lots of work to do on that front, but just to let the community know, we're actively working on making sure that we have the appropriate protocols in place, comply with the provincial requirements as we look at reopening some of these facilities. And happy to answer any questions council may have on this over the next little while as well. So maybe on that, Mayor Boot, I'll open the floor to council to see if there's any questions related to, I think in particular, the Parks and Recreation component, which I know is, our parks are getting really well used. Everyone's trying to get out and about as much as they can with the physical distancing measures in place, which has been great to see. So we definitely want to support that, but in as healthy a manner as possible over the coming weeks.
Council?
So we'll keep council up to date as we move forward, and especially around some of the parks. For example, Giant's Head Park is a good example where we have the gate closed right now. By opening the gate, we certainly invite a lot more activity and access up to there, which may not be something that complies with the provincial orders. So pedestrian access, cycling access up to the mountain is open, as it has been for the last few weeks. But there's some of the decision points we'll be bringing back to council over the coming weeks as we put a plan together. Just to finish off, I just want to provide a bit of an update on some of the construction projects in the community. Thanks to our Director of Works and Services. We've recently completed 3 major projects: the Quinpool Road water main replacement, Stephen Avenue drainage improvements, and James and Mary Guttrell trail repairs. I know there have been projects that council and the community have been keen to see completed over the last couple of years, and great to see the team move ahead with those in the early part of this year. Some ongoing projects that are underway right now. We've got the landfill, second scale and entrance improvements, construction underway, expected to be completed towards the end of July. And some upcoming projects, which will be great to see over the next couple of months get completed. The Peach Orchard Beach pathway repairs will be starting this week. Doherty Avenue, Bathville Road construction will be starting in the next week or so. And then Victoria Road and Turner Street, the Jones Flat Road project with the force main installation being undertaken this week. Will also include paving of that entire road width as approved through the budget process in 2020. So busy time, and huge thanks to the guys in Works and Services under the leadership of Chris for moving these priorities forward. Thank you, Mayor Boot. That's my update for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Haddad. I have one question related to the opening of Giant's Head with the gate opening. I'm not sure that it specifically applies to Giant's
Head, but there has been concern about I mean, it's been great to have people out on the trails and using them more frequently and actively, getting exercise and some fresh air while still physically distancing. But there has been concern in the community around some of the I'm not sure if misuse is the correct term, but it's people causing increasingly severe environmental damage. I don't know if this is by not staying on the trails or what the particulars are, but I've heard it from a number of different sources. And is that something that you can speak about, Mr. Haddad?
Yeah, I think through Chair, Madam Mayor, we had a lot of concerns up at I think it was Trappers a couple of weeks back with the increased usage of that area and the potential impact on some of the environmentally sensitive areas up there. We had this weekend, we did see usage drop up there. We also put some additional signs around camping and campfires being prohibited in those areas. So trying to take as much of a proactive stance as possible while trying to balance the needs of the community as well. We've had bylaw services teams monitoring each of those parks as well over the weekends. As I said in the last couple of updates, we've had a bylaw team working weekends in addition to long weekends, and you'll see that continue into the May long weekend as well. So trying to increase the presence and especially on the education side of things where it makes sense.
Councillor Carlson?
Thank you for that update. I was speaking with some friends who use the area and have lived here for decades, and they're noticing quite a significant number of trails that never used to be there. And so the suggestion in the conversation we had was about whether there's an opportunity to do some sort of education around maybe tread lightly, or don't be a meadow stomper, or do some sort of very positive, trying to keep people on the existing trails, stick to the deer trails, things like that, because I know that growing up, that's what people around here are taught when you go out on adventures, to stick to the trails that already are there. And I think that we're just going to see more and more trails being created if we can't, it doesn't have to be just Summerland. I think that it's a larger conversation, obviously, throughout the whole region and province, but just encouraging people to be conscientious and to stick to what's there already and try not to make a whole bunch of new stuff, because people are starting to get lost out there. There's so many trails being built.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think a lot of the communication is, again, as we come up to what will likely be a busy weekend this weekend, some education around those components will be important. And then with regards to Giant's Head Mountain, the new trails signage that's been put up there will hopefully steer people in the right direction. So Laurie and her team have been moving those projects forward as well. So we've certainly got a great opportunity for some enhanced education in what are some very sensitive areas in the community.
Other questions for
Our CAO? All right, thank you. Now, I'll have Ms. Needham bring forward the next item regarding comments from public.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this open electronic meeting is being held without public in attendance as permitted under Ministerial Orders 83 and 139. The meeting is being live streamed to YouTube, so this is the first meeting being live streamed, but all of our meetings are being recorded and posted to our website. and there was no correspondence submitted for this particular agenda item.
Thank you, Corporate Officer. So on to 8 development items. The first one is 8.1, ALC non-adhering residential use for temporary farm worker accommodation, site-specific zoning amendment, bylaw number 2020-005. Councillor Carlson.
If this is Washington and Blair Street,
Yes.
I'll recuse myself from this part of the conversation. If someone can contact me when you're finished, I will come back. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Anthony, over to you.
Okay, and I'll maybe hand you over to Karen first. We did have some correspondence that came in on this item, and I'll get Karen just to run through those, I think it's 10 or 11 emails and letters that came in regarding this application before I get into a brief presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm just sharing my screen. Is everybody, can you see this particular screen? Can everybody see? Can everybody see the correspondence?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So for item 8.1 and also 8.2, which is the variance, we received letters from Anna Buklar of Victoria Road South, Mike Kidd and Annie Sasaki of Garnet Valley Road, Kyle Martins, Andrew Spear of Julia Street, Brian Stewart of Penticton, Albert and Shannon Vandermeer of Garnet Avenue, Catherine Weeb on Blair Street, Carl Ladwig and Robin Dole on Washington Ave, Linda Fain of Summerland, Mark and Karen Nair of Blair Street, and an additional piece of correspondence from the applicant Mountain View Growers.
Might I ask if that includes the correspondence received today?
It does, Madam Mayor. There
Thank
were
you.
3 additional pieces today.
Great, thank you. Okay, CAO.
Okay, so I'll share my screen with Council just to run through a little bit of background. I provided a presentation which outlined the proposed zoning amendment on May 14th, April 14th. But I'll run through just briefly some highlights to get Council and the community up to speed before Council have some discussion. So there were 5 resolutions passed on April 14th with regards to this application. The first one was related to the general zoning bylaw amendment for farm worker housing, and that was forwarded to the Development Process Improvement Advisory Committee. The second resolution was regarding providing first and second reading to this site-specific amendment that Council have in front of them this evening. The third resolution passed was forwarding the development variance application to be considered after the zoning amendment specific to Blair Street was considered. The fourth resolution was directing staff to forward the amendment off to the Agricultural Land Commission. And the fifth was relating to waiving of the public hearing at 111507 Blair Street for this item. The second item and fifth item are subject to discussion in item 8.1, and item 3 on the list there will be subject to the variance, which is 8.2 on the agenda. So I just wanted to provide that background for Council and the community so that we know where we're starting with the discussion tonight. The resolution in front of Council has been amended slightly from what's in the Council report. In the Council report, the zoning amendment referenced the bylaw number 2020-005, which was the general amendment, where that should have mentioned the site-specific amendment, which is in front of Council. So I've just updated that recommendation. When we come back to Council to consider this item, we're speaking about the site-specific amendment, not the general amendment. That's in the process of being reviewed, or was reviewed by the Development Committee, and I'll bring back a report on that to Council over the coming weeks. The third section here, as opposed to Council considering adoption of the bylaw, That's been amended to ensure that it gets forwarded to the ALC for their review. Once their review is completed, if it's approved, then that would come back to council so that the bylaws can be adopted. So again, I'll refer back to this when we get to the discussion on the item, so council are clear on what they're discussing and making a decision on this evening. So just quickly to recap for the community, subject property located on the northwest corner of Blair Street and Washington Avenue. The site's OCP designation is for agriculture and zoned as small acreage zone. The purpose of this application specific to Blair Street is to consider the application for temporary farm worker housing via a non-adhering residential application to the Agricultural Land Commission. The zoning bylaw text amendment specific to this property is intended to allow for a 46-person modular farm worker housing development, which will consist of 11 modular units. Up on the screen now is a copy of the bylaw amendment. So attachment 8 in the council agenda package contains the site-specific amendment. So I won't read that through in detail, but the intention is to add this amendment to the zoning bylaw specific to 11507 Blair Street. Should council support the amendment, that will then be forwarded off to the Agricultural Land Commission for their review. If they support it, we'll bring it back to council for bylaw adoption and moving this item forward. So with that, I'll hand over to council for any questions or discussion on this item, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay, council, we're on 8.1, discussing the site-specific zoning amendment. Are there questions related to 8.1? Well, I will start then. I just have one quick question. I know that you mentioned that it's should be 2020-007. No, never mind. Never mind, I found it. Never mind that potential question. Okay, anyone else from council have any questions about this? Okay, seeing no hands raised, I will ask if somebody can bring that forward. The resolutions, sorry. Okay, so bring forward the resolutions that we have in front of us. Councillor Holmes, did I see your hand up? No?
No.
Okay.
I'll bring it forward though.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's 007, not 005. So is that correct?
Correct.
So zoning amendment, farm worker housing bylaw 2020-007 be read a second time. And that zoning amendment, farm worker housing bylaw number 2020-007 be read a third time. And that zoning amendment, farm worker housing bylaw number 2020-007 be adopted. Be forwarded to the ALC for decision.
Right, instead of adoption. Thank you. Okay, so that is moved and seconded by Councillor Van Elfen. Discussion on this or questions, further questions of Mr. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was very interesting in reading all the correspondence that we did receive on this site from our citizens. And I would like to point out that probably half the citizens actually referenced back to 2014 and Stop the Swap, where Mountain View growers were going to relocate outside up by the landfill at that time. And of course, as we know, that was turned over. So as it stands right now, we've got Mountain View growers needing to plant 25 million trees. And unfortunately, the spot in which they have is the land in which they have to grow on. So I feel for the residents, but on the other hand, it is a farming activity, and I do believe that the farm worker accommodations that they're asking for are duly needed for the operation of their business. So, I do feel for our citizens that did indicate, but it does show us that if we could take a turn back in time, things may have been a little bit different back then than what they are now. But we live with the decisions that we make. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Patton. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I mean, I support this. I think it has absolutely nothing to do with the swap at all. There was nothing stopping them from moving. Even if the stop didn't go ahead, if they wanted, I think that's the best spot for them, and they're developing their site. I don't think it serves any purpose creating some sort of hypothetical situations of what may or may not have happened.
Councillor Barkle.
Yes, I find it hard to relate to the stop the swap issue. It's an issue that could come up anywhere in our farming community. So it is really just a density and zoning issue. And I relate it back to the variance that we applied for, or we didn't apply for, that we dealt with last week, where the applicant wanted to put a larger home on a lot and wanted a variance just because he wanted it.
Excuse me, Councillor Barkle. If
Yep.
I could just interject for a moment. We're talking specifically about the site-specific zoning amendment. Just a reminder. Thank you.
So in this case, he wants both the zoning amendment and the variance. They're hand in glove here, just to accommodate what he has. There's no, that's like a tiny little lot. As Councillor Patton talked about an amalgamation or something last week, or our last meeting. I don't see how this fits with any sort of, you wouldn't put a house of that size there on this little lot. And I relate it again also to going way back to Banks Crescent and the question, we all agreed that some development would be good, or most of us agreed, and we all agree that farm worker accommodation is needed and good, but where do you draw the line? Why can't you provide something that doesn't require sticking 46 units in a corner excessively close to the road or beyond? So I am mixing up the variance and the zoning issue, but I'm feeling that the 46 units is just too much. That's nearly half the 88 units on Wharton Street, some of them 2 and 3 bedrooms, and here we got something that is 46 units, which is way out there next to single family homes and farming. It just seems too big for me to be comfortable with, just like Banks Crescent was.
Thank you, Councillor Barkwell. Councillor Traynor, followed by Councillor Van Elfen.
So I just wanted to clarify that these structures are temporary structures, right? Like, should the use change, then these structures would not be allowed anymore. And, right, like it's just temporary, as long as they're using them for what they say they are?
Correct. So, Your Worship, so this is a specific amendment specific to this 11 unit development, 11 unit modular housing complex.
Okay, and I'm just curious, were there any other options for finding accommodation for 46 workers on their property?
Through Chair, Madam Mayor, I don't know if there were other locations. The site owned obviously by Mountain View Growers is a lot larger than where this location is, so I'm not too sure what other alternatives they looked at. From an operational perspective, having them in a close location obviously provides some efficiencies for their use. So that I believe in their written correspondence in one of the attachments, they provided some rationale around why the location is where it is and how the building would be managed from their perspective. So the site's obviously large enough for different locations, but this is what we have in front of us, and as a result, you've seen the staff report and recommendation, our rationale for our recommendation.
Can I just ask one further question? Okay. I'm not sure if this is in the bylaw. I have it up here. I don't see it though. Once the structures are there, is the owner required to put any kind of barrier, like you know, trees or anything? I know it's on their site plan, but is that a requirement just to kind of make it look a bit nicer or keep down the noise at all?
Yes, so the variance will be attached to, sorry, the plans attached to the variance show the landscaping, the tree buffer that is around there. So the variance will be registered on title, and there will be an expectation that that be, as a result, if council support the variances when we get to that item, that the landscaping will be provided as on the plans.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Trainer. Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have to just refer to what Councillor Trainer said. These are temporary farm workers accommodations. If their business plan ceased tomorrow, those units could be moved off that site. Again, temporary farm workers accommodation is allowable use on ALR land. All the other surrounding properties, if I'm not mistaken, are ALR. You know, they're it's in an agricultural area, and their big push is September to, I think, mid-November is when they do their major tree harvest. And so it's not like it's going to be used 12 months a year. And they have some temporary farm workers accommodations already right down on Washington Avenue across from their main plant. And they've been working hand in hand with other farmers in our community to share those accommodations and share their workers. And, you know, a cherry grower will house some of their farm workers there. And then when the cherry season's over, the boer booms will use them in the silviculture operation. So I think it's a real win-win for a lot of the farmers, the neighboring farmers also. And any farmers that I've spoken to that bring in temporary farm workers, they've had really good responses from them. They're here to work. So, you know, I read a few of the correspondence where people were concerned, and you know, and I saw the site plan, and I agree, as long as there's a buffer, shrubs or something around it, to, you know, that'll help a lot. Thank you.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thank you. So it's my understanding that this accommodation is for all their operations, so all the properties, and so rather than having, you know, one farm worker accommodation on one property and another one on another property, another one on another property that they all own, which basically amounts to the same operation, they're just keeping all the farm workers in that one area. Is that correct? Is that through the CO, I guess?
Yes, through the chair, your worship. There are 2 or 3 other residences on the property that will accommodate farm worker housing. there is a restriction in the bylaw that's in front of council around the use of these 11 modular units. And so contained within the zoning amendment, it's 8.111 D. States that temporary farm worker housing shall be occupied only during the harvesting and pruning periods of the farm unit. So their intention certainly is to be for that short period of time, as outlined in the applicant's submission. It is September to December, I believe, is the period that they'll be occupied. But there are other residences on the property for this operation as well. So it won't contain all of them, but certainly the temporary workers for this purpose will be housed in this development.
Okay, just to that, I think if some point in the future that they want to keep adding the additional complex, then there's reason to be concerned. I hear what Councillor Barkwell is saying, and we don't want to create these kind of Soviet style concrete apartment blocks in the middle of farmlands, but I think that's the reality of farm work today, and farm worker accommodation. We can't find local people to do the work, and so they have to bring them in. And I think if we want our farms to survive and thrive, then we have to accept that these sort of things are kind of inevitable.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I have a few, Anthony. Oh, Councillor Trainer.
I'm just wondering if this does go through, and there are, I'm just reading over again some of the correspondence we got. People are concerned about noise and traffic. If there are any issues, what can residents do? Or do they phone bylaw, or who's responsible for looking after this housing?
Through the chair, Madam Mayor, you're correct, Councillor Trainer. The bylaw department on any zoning infractions, the site-specific amendment is quite confined, obviously, to this property in terms of what can happen there. We've got our noise bylaws, those sort of things, if there are other nuisances that get created there. We do get complaints and some concerns from neighbours around some of the traffic impacts in that area and the impacts that the Mountain View Growers operation does have on that surrounding area. So it's obviously an ongoing discussion that we're going to keep working with the business operators on, making sure that there's the appropriate protocols and we limit the unreasonableness of any impact on public highways and those sort of things. So it'll certainly be an ongoing discussion that we need to continue working closely with the business on.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Of course.
Just finally, with COVID-19 going on right now, will that change? They've asked for 46 room for 46 people. How will COVID-19 affect that?
Just to respond to that, Madam Mayor, the province have brought out some guidelines for work camps, industrial work camps, which this would include. So should it be in place during the COVID restrictions, they would need to comply with those requirements for health and safety, cleanliness, all the various things that are included in the provincial requirements.
Okay. Councillor Councillor Barkwell, I just wanted to check, Councillor Van Alphen, you're unmiked. I'm wondering if
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I thought maybe you had a question. So I'll go to Councillor Barkwell.
Yeah. As from my earlier comments, I'm really struggle with this one. I'm quite reluctant, but I am also would point out, and I think this might be a deciding factor for me, is that the owners, the operators seem to do an exceptional job of maintaining good relationships with the neighbors. And I would think that the comments that we got were more positive from the neighbors and the immediate neighbors than than negative. And maybe considering the temporary nature, we can try this once and see how it works. And I've never heard anything but good things about the people who work in the facility. So I'm kind of thinking about this one.
Thank you, Councillor Barkwell. CAO, I have just a couple of questions. I think that in the last time that this came forward to us, more recently than last fall, there were some pictures that accompanied your report. Would it be possible to see those pictures again?
Certainly. So share my screen.
Thank you.
Okay. So that the first, was this the photograph you were speaking to? This was a photograph just showing the modular units when viewed from Blair Street. They're currently sitting on the adjacent parcel to the east, not where they're proposed to be located. So that gives you an indication of what the buildings look like. The next slide shows the location in terms of where the development's supposed to take place. There's currently some earthworks taking place or being undertaken to grade the site for the eventual provision of the units, should council support them. And this is a view from the property directly to the west, showing the location of where the retaining wall would be. And just a closer view of the retaining wall on the west side of the property.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I have a question related to those pictures. Could you remind me whether or not the application has already been approved by the Agricultural Land Commission for the, I guess you'd call it earthworks and the aggregate that will have to be laid down in order to get these temporary units in place?
So, Madam Mayor, the earthworks was approved by the district to allow the regrading to occur on the property. Should council give third reading to this zoning amendment, we'll have to forward that off to the Agricultural Land Commission. Ultimately, it'll be their decision on whether or not they support this non-adhering farm use application.
So just to clarify, though, it's my understanding that part of the application process for this requires an application to the Agricultural Land Commission regarding the earthworks and if any other soil has to be removed or brought into the site. So that's where my question lies. Has already been approved by the Agricultural Land Commission? Because it shows in this application that yes, that's something that they need to do. Yes.
So so the earthworks in terms of site preparation, that's all been moved forward through the processes. As I said, ultimately the buildings will need to go back to them for approval.
Yes. On the site. Okay, good. Thank you for that. Some of the correspondence that we got referred to agricultural land and the values of the agricultural land. I thought that we had seen it before, and maybe this was back in August, that the agrologist report for that particular area, the area that is under question here, or that is before us tonight, did not have particular agricultural value outside of what it's going to be used for in terms of silviculture, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, I believe that is the case. I don't have the agrologist report in front of me to speak to specifically. Okay,
maybe I'll ask, Councillor Barkwell, you had your hand up. Are you recalling that the agrologist information? Oh, no, you're not. Okay, so I'm just going to put you on hold for a second because I've got another question to ask of Mr. Haddad, and then I'll go to you. So my next question again is related to the traffic concerns that some of the people brought forward. I'm not sure of this, but it seems to me that if these modular units are housing temporary foreign workers, to me that means that these people are coming from outside of Canada, and to me again that means that they're probably not going to drive here. I know that a lot of them are coming from Mexico, and I can't see that they would be bringing extra traffic along with them. And my understanding as well is that transportation within the complex, so within the Mountain View growers, is provided as needed by their employer. And further, it's a 10-minute walk to town. So I'm not sure that how much traffic there will be related to this. Could you comment on that?
Yes, Madam Mayor, you're correct. So they're in discussion with the applicant, and in their submission, they've outlined that each of the foreign workers will not have their individual vehicles. So they have their shuttle program that shuttles workers to the various locations within their operation, and also into the downtown if they're not walking there. As you said, it's about 1.5 kilometer roughly walk into the downtown, where additional services for the workers should they want them. So there are some obviously historical transportation issues as are outlined in a couple of the letters of submission along Washington Avenue, and there's some work that we'll need to continue to do with the business operator to make sure there's any compliance issues or any congestion is dealt with as sensitively as possible. And in discussion with the applicant over the last few weeks, they are looking into the future around some of the drop off and pickup, especially with some of the larger vehicles that do come along there, looking at some more dedicated locations off of the road for pickup and of the trees when they as part of their programming.
Oh, good. That's good to hear, because there are other residences around there. And my final question, and then thank you for your patience, Councillor Barkwell. I know that this is not in the urban growth area, and certainly 44 to however many workers will be potentially living on that site if this is approved here and at the Agricultural Land Commission. So my question is, and I think I know the answer to this. I think I read it in some of the material, but I just want to have assurance that there won't be the need for a septic system, that they are connected to the sewer, municipal sewer.
Yes, that's correct.
Good, thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Oh, I didn't really have my hand up. I was just, waving with my pen.
Yes, I'm going to have to better interpret the body language, I guess, from councillors. So is there any further discussion on this? Okay, I just want to say I don't mean to ramble on, but I very much appreciate the comments that I've received from council, that we've heard from council. Councillor Holmes and Patton and well, I guess everyone was talking about how important agriculture is to the history of Summerland, and that unfortunately thriving farm operations typically cannot get local or even South Okanagan workers to help them out during the year. And I think that although this is a site-specific application, that farm worker housing is something that we really need to support. Councillor Traynor was talking about asking questions about the pandemic and how that will be adapted. And it's more important than ever, I think, to make sure that both the residents of Summerland and the people that are coming to help out our local farm operators are safe and secure and can be kept healthy. So that's all I wanted to say about this. And again, we have three. Oh, Councillor Van Elfen, you have your hand up. Please unmute yourself and begin again. Thank you.
Will that be better? The one positive thing about the temporary farm workers program is that these units are inspected on a yearly basis by an outside inspector that comes in and makes sure that these accommodations meet all the criterias that need to be met. Now, if you remember back 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, when we would bring workers in, they'd be in pup tents in the middle of an orchard with no sanitary conditions whatsoever. And now, with the temporary farm workers program, this is leaps and bounds ahead of what we once were. And this is all across Canada, you know, from East Coast to the West Coast. These accommodations are popping up everywhere. And it's a real need, and I'm grateful that they are inspected and that the people that we're bringing in are treated properly and have a safe place and a clean and healthy place to live while they're here working. So, and I think it's a real plus for our community. Like they're here to work, but they do shop here too. You know, so, you know, it is a plus for the whole community, and it's a need for the agricultural community for sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Van Elfen. Any further comments or discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. Karen, could I have you read again the 3 resolutions? I think all 3 of them had updates to them.
Madam Mayor, it was that zoning amendment site specific for 11507 Blair Street, bylaw number 2020-007 be read a second time. That zoning amendment site specific 11507 Blair Street, bylaw number 2020-007 be read a third time. And that zoning amendment for the site specific on Blair Street, bylaw 2020-007 be forwarded to the Agricultural Land Commission for approval and adoption consideration by council.
Thank you. Councillor Barkman.
At the end, I'm not sure if I heard it correctly, but the very last words were "and adoption," or do we? I thought we went to ALC and then we, after we had their results, we would then be on the agenda again.
Correct. So prior to adoption consideration.
Prior, oh yeah, thanks. Okay, it's a Zoom audio is not always there.
Thank you, Councillor Barkwell. I was questioning the same thing. So, okay, any other questions or discussion on this? I'll call the question. All in favor? I don't see any opposed, so that is carried unanimously. I guess we have to get through 8.2 before we call Councillor Carlson back. So 8.2 is the development variance permit at 11507 Blair Street. And I will pass it over to our CAO again.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So just to run through this application, the variance proposed for the subject property is related to zoning bylaw amendments to reduce the exterior side yard setback, reduce the number of parking spaces required, and increase the height of the proposed retaining wall. So subject property, as you can see up on the screen, on the corner of Blair and Washington. The zoning bylaw is agricultural. The future land use designation in the OCP is also agricultural. And as you can see, the site is located within the Agricultural Land Reserve. Photos, we just went through those, so just showing the structures that are subject to the variance, where they're currently located, the subject property, where the earthworks are underway for site preparation, and a view related to the third variance, showing the retaining wall and a zoom in of where that retaining wall is. So the first variance, this image shows the site plan showing the location, the eventual location of the farm worker housing, should council support the variance application and the ALC support the zoning amendment. The three variances, just to highlight those, the exterior side yard setback on Washington being proposed to be reduced from 4.5 meters to 2.5 meters. The zoning bylaw requires the 4.5 meter setback from the exterior property line. A access is in staff's review not considered to be impacted by reducing the variance. The building itself is set back 7 meters from Blair Street. So in staff review of the application, some concerns were originally identified with regards to sight lines and the impact of what that reduced variance would have on the intersection of Blair and Washington Street. So with the 7 meter setback variance and the district boulevard that's located in front of the property line, staff don't believe there's any negative impact resulting from the site location of the reduced setback along Washington Street. The landscape buffer is one of the assets certainly provided as part of the application in terms of rationale for supporting a reduced setback. You can see the trees located around the perimeter of the site that will screen the single-story structure. Obviously, those trees will, through maturity, screen the development from the street on Washington and Blair Street. The second variance is related to the parking reduction, reducing the required parking spaces from 15 down to 6, based on, as we spoke to earlier, the rationale provided by the applicant in terms of the temporary farm workers not having their individual vehicles. So these workers are there on an individual basis. The Mountain View Growers operation provides shuttle buses moving workers throughout their farm operations and transporting them to the various amenities and services in this surrounding area as well. The final variance related to the retaining wall height is along the western property line. The increase in height proposed from 1.2 meters up to a height of 3.8 meters is part of the application. The site, as you can see in the original photographs, the regrading of the site was needed to accommodate a flatter lot to accommodate the modular housing development. So the parcel slopes down from north to south, moving more severely along to the western property line. As a result, the retaining wall is needed to bring that side of the property up to a grade that is appropriate to accommodate the development. This illustration was included in the council package and shows that western building elevation in terms of the lock block retaining wall that would be able to accommodate the grade or the regrading required to accommodate the farm worker housing development. So that's the eventual elevation that will be visible from the west should council support this variance. So the variance in front of council, or the recommendation in front of council, is for support for each of the three variances. Based on the rezoning application being submitted to the Agricultural Land Commission for review, should council support or approve the development variance, we'd recommend that council direct staff not to issue the variance permit itself until the Agricultural Land Commission approval is received and the zoning bylaw adopted by council. So those two will come back in tandem to council once the ALC have supported the application, if council wish to move this application forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. Okay, starting with Councillor Holmes, please, on the questions or discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out that the retaining wall is a gradual. It's not 3.8 meters from the full length of the wall. It is a gradual thing that was discussed. I was at the Agricultural Advisory Committee when this was discussed, and that was discussed at quite some length about by the committee. and the assurances were given that it was a very gradual to the 3.8 because of the topography. So I think that's just worth noting. Just a question as well regarding the tree buffer. One of the letters we received from the neighbors was concerned that the trees, they wouldn't be mature trees, that they would be small trees to begin with, and it'd be quite some time before they actually were providing any kind of buffer. Is there any way to ensure that about the maturity of those trees and that buffer, that they actually is serving its purpose right from the get-go?
Yes, through the chair, Madam Mayor. Right now, there's no detail on the type of tree that is proposed along there, but should council provide that direction as a condition, for example, of the variance, that those trees be mature at the time of planting. So that could be a condition that council direct us to attach to the permit.
Okay, anything further, Councillor Holmes, just now? Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Councillor Trainer.
Can I just ask Councillor Holmes, in our report here, it says that that's the Advisory Planning Commission. They're the ones that were against the parking stalls being reduced. Maybe, Anthony, could you comment on that? Do you know why they defeated that? I thought it was the Agricultural Planning Committee, but it was the Advisory Planning Committee that didn't like that portion of this.
Certainly. So just reading from the minutes, the commission indicated that the reduction to the minimum parking spaces or on-site parking spaces is insufficient, and suggested that the number of parking spaces be somewhere between the required amount and what the applicant is requesting. So I guess their suggestion was to try and find additional parking spaces on site. I will. The site's obviously restricted with the size of the 11 units once you put them together, and the restriction that I guess the barrier that provides to providing all of the parking. I guess the rationale, as we've outlined in terms of the actual operations, and if there was 15 parking spaces provided, it would not be an efficient use of land. So based on the use itself, staff are comfortable with the six parking spaces that are there. On the site plan, there is a seventh that's just located on the adjacent property, and we couldn't include that in this application. So there are 7 new parking spaces provided.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just that initially concerned me too, the parking spaces, especially considering the history of some of the traffic issues on that site. But I accept what the CEO said previously about the work that the ongoing work with the owner to sort those issues out, and recognize that they're really 2 separate issues, that the traffic issues really don't have anything to do with the parking spaces available for the farm workers housing. So I'm okay with that.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Councillor Barkwell.
Yes, there was earlier, our CEO had some discussion on the setbacks. And I guess, is it safe to assume that no variance is required for the Blair Street because it is set back according to the current zoning?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And then I guess since we're talking about parking spaces, it's hard for me to imagine that temporary foreign workers would have many vehicles. So the parking spaces don't concern me, but is this accommodation confined to temporary foreign workers? Like say a couple of people from Quebec came and were working, they would have a car. Would they be in this accommodation?
Okay, sorry, I'm just going back to the zoning amendment. There's a specific language in the zoning amendment around the use, and I just read that temporary farm worker housing shall be occupied only during the harvesting season, pruning periods of the farm unit. I guess so there's some limitations on that time period. The actual users and who those workers actually are is really not something that this zoning bylaw can deal with. So whether they're coming from across the border or within the country, that's not the intention of this bylaw in front of council, and I think would be quite difficult to or maybe impossible to restrict.
So then it is quite possible we would have people with cars in this location, yeah.
Yeah, it is possible based on the information that's being presented to us by the applicant and their business operations. They have the foreign worker policy that the government have. They obviously take advantage of that for, from what I understand, the majority of their workers on site.
Councillor Barkle, I just wanted to follow up on your concerns there. I may be speaking out of turn here because this is likely an assumption, but if these units are being set up to accommodate temporary foreign workers, or let's say any farm workers for the fall through to December period, I'm not sure how many migrant workers there may be on site using those facilities at that, or the housing at that time of year. But I'm just speculating here that there may not be too many migrant workers from outside of BC, but within Canada here. Just a thought. Any other questions of our CAO? I just have one, and it refers, you mentioned, and Councillor Barkle brought it up, about the 7-meter setback on Blair Street. Can you repeat your comments, please, about the setback along Washington Street?
So on Blair Street, the zoning bylaw requires a 6-meter setback, and 7 meters is being proposed. The setback on the exterior side yard, which is the Washington Avenue frontage, zoning bylaw requires 4.5 meters, and what's being proposed is 2.5 meters. So it's a 2-meter variance along Washington.
So I understand that. I'm just wondering if the changes that Mountain View growers are making in terms of the concerns that neighbors have expressed about that area on Washington Street specifically, if the moving from a 4.5 meter setback to a 2.5 meter setback is going to create other issues there, or if the changes that they're proposing to make will take care of that.
Yeah, I think in staff's review, the landscaping around the periphery will certainly screen the building, and will, regardless of any condition that's applied by council around the maturity of the trees, that's certainly a discussion we want to have before planting takes place. The intention is to have those trees, obviously the height of those trees, well above the single-story farm worker housing structures that's there to offset any unreasonable or unsightliness that the community may have concerns with.
Thank you for that. Could I ask you to also speak to the concerns that neighbors have had about the traffic on Washington Avenue, and how and whether or not reducing that setback to another 2 meters will make that problem worse, or if they are addressing that?
Yes, so Madam Mayor, the traffic impacts won't be directly negatively impacted, I guess, by the location of the building. There's no loss of boulevard space or any of the road right of way is staying the same. I think the point I spoke to earlier is really around the operations of the larger Mountain View Growers operation and the impact that may have along Washington Avenue. That we'll certainly need to continue working with the business owners on. They've identified some areas, I think, further to the south along Washington Avenue where some of the larger vehicles that are there for pickup and delivery can be accommodated off-site to lessen the impact on that street. But it's certainly it's a busy operation, and trying to accommodate that with the through street is something that we're going to have to continue working with the owners on.
Great, thank you. That's what I was looking for. Okay, any other questions? And if not, I don't see any hands raised. Could I have someone bring forward the recommendations, please? And oh, actually, I'm just going to ask one other question. Does council want all of these? Well, I guess it's all the development variants, but do you want to look at them separately or just all together? Separately, nod. Councillor Holmes, you'd prefer to see it separate?
It doesn't matter to me. I would just like to bring forward a motion that includes that trees mature at time of planting be included as a buffer in the motion one way or another. So whether that's best done separately or together, it doesn't matter to me.
All right. So any further comments on whether or not to do this as a bulk one with Councillor Holmes's request or separately? Okay, so seeing nothing there, I will ask somebody, perhaps Councillor Holmes, you'd like to bring this forward because you wanted to have that extra piece in there. Would you
Sure.
bring that forward? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the council approved development variance permit DVP 20-002 at 11507 Blair Street, legally described as Lot 2 District Lot 3640 ODYD Plan 8287 to vary the zoning bylaw 2000-450 as follows. Section 8.1.6A4 to vary the exterior side setback from Washington Ave from 4.5 meters to 2.5 meters. Table 6.1 to vary the number of parking spaces required on site from 15 to 6 spaces. Section 5.52 to vary the height of a retaining wall as shown on the plan prepared by ODC Land and Building Development Consultants entitled Proposed 46-Man Modular Farmhouse Accommodation dated February 6, 2020 from 1.2 meters to 3.8 meters, and that a tree buffer be established according to the plans shown, according to the prepared plans, and that trees be mature at time of planting, and that staff be directed to issue development variance permit DVP 20-002. How's that?
Well done. Seconder, Councillor Traynor. Thank you.
Can I just ask something? Anthony, can you bring back up the screen that you originally put up with what Doug just read out? Because I think there was something in red at the bottom that you had added.
Okay, yes, sorry. The last section was just respect to the zoning amendment being forwarded to the Land Commission and waiting to issue the permit subject to those approvals coming back.
Okay, should that bylaw 2020-00, so that'd be 007? Because that's the site
Yes.
specific.
Yes, you are correct.
So I'm happy to include
Oh,
that
yes.
portion as well.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Good catch, Councillor Trainer. Any discussion on this? I just have one thing that I'd like to bring forward in reference to mature trees. I think it might be someone that's owned a plant nursery. I think it might be more appropriate to have a recommended caliper size of the tree, because a mature tree, depending on what they are, I mean, might be totally impossible to plant a mature tree. So, you know, a mature tree might be 30 feet tall and wide or 50 feet tall and wide, and mature means that's as big as it's going to grow. So I'm wondering if maybe, Councillor Holmes, you would accept a friendly amendment to suggest a caliper size for the tree. So that would be the measurement of the trunk when it goes into the ground.
Certainly, I'd be happy
I
to.
just think that a mature tree, yeah.
Yeah, and we
Okay.
don't want them planting mature bonsai.
That's right. So yeah, so I don't have
Yeah, I
a
don't know the
ruler.
I don't know the right wording, but yeah, I'm happy to accept any kind of, maybe the CEO has a suggestion of how we can word it.
So I don't know, like 40 millimeters caliper, or I'm not sure what you would suggest.
Yeah,
I think the main thing is that it creates the idea is that the trees that are planted create a buffer right from the get-go, and that they don't have to wait for that buffer to you know, for the trees to grow before there's a buffer. So I think that I think if the wording could just be that the tree buffer is established from the big, you know, from the initial planting of the trees or something like that.
CAO.
yeah. I was just going to say, Madam Mayor, I think council will also have the opportunity once if council provide that direction, they'll have the opportunity to see that detail once we bring the variance back, or sorry, bring the zoning bylaw back. So this has to come back to council for adoption on the zoning side of things. We can certainly bring that information back so that council are comfortable with the size of trees and the detail attached to that.
But would you recommend that this stay in, though?
Yes.
At, you know, providing the buffer at time of planting?
Correct.
And then that will provide that assurance. Thank you. Okay, so that is on the floor and it's been seconded. Any other discussion on this? I'll call the question then. All in favor? Any opposed? None, so that carries unanimously. Thank you. If you could give Councillor Carlson a shout. CAO, thank you.
Okay, so Councillor Carlson just mentioned she'll be back in a couple of minutes. So if we can keep moving on with her permission.
Thank you. So on to 8.3, Another development variance permit 20-010 for 5212 Woods Avenue, CAO.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. The item 8.3 is related to variance to vary the minimum front yard setback by 52 centimeters at 5212 Woods Avenue. Subject property located on the west side of Woods Avenue. Photograph the existing building, or the building has been constructed, as you can see up on the screen, and I'll go into a bit more detail around where the variances are and the relevant sections of the zoning bylaw that apply to this project. The current zoning for the property is RSD1, residential medium lot, and the OCP designation is for future low density residential. The variance request is in front of council to legitimize the location of the single family dwelling that's under constructed, reducing the front yard setback from 6 meters to 5.48 meters within the zoning bylaw. The approved building plans for the subject property had appeared to comply with the setback requirements established within the zone. After initial review, however, staff during a site inspection in February of this year noted that the concrete footings of the single family dwelling encroached into the front yard setback by 52 centimeters. Legitimizing the under construction single family dwelling requires the variance to the zoning bylaw, as I've said. And you can see up on the screen in red the location of the 6 meter setback requirement and the portion of the building that is located within or under the setback requirement triggering the variance. The zoning bylaw front yard setback within the single family zone is 6 meters, as you can see on the top right hand side of the screen. I just also want to point out within the zoning bylaw, not that it is being varied, but it's relevant to this application in terms of projections that are allowed into the setbacks. So the first section there speaks to no buildings and structures other than the following components being allowed to be within the setbacks. And that includes chimneys, cornices, eaves, gutters, bay windows, or similar projections that can be accommodated within the setback. And on the left-hand side of the screen shows the diagram that's within the zoning bylaw that just depicts some of those projections. So section C there, 421C, relevant to this application, describes that unenclosed decks, above grade patios, balconies, porches, or steps may project into the required setback, provided each or such setback does not exceed 1.5 meters. So the zoning bylaw does allow some projections. However, there's a certain portion of this application that is not permitted, which is subject to the variance, and that's the footings or the base of this building. So you can see on the photograph, the top portion there encroaches into the 6 meter setback. However, with that being attached to the upper balcony, that portion of the building can be within the setback, actually up to 1.5 meters based on the zoning bylaw. The issue with this application or the building that's being constructed is the footing portions of the building. You can see in sort of highlighting there the base structure for the garage, which is really, I guess, an architectural feature to, for a visual side of things, set the garage door back further than the facade of the building. And you can see on the right hand side of this photograph in the top section, the balcony area where the projection would be allowed. The section at the base of that area is not permitted. So that is the area that's subject to the variance in front of council, protruding 52 centimeters into the front yard, required front yard setback. So staff's review of the application, when looking at the impact of the setback reduction over and above what the impact would be if it complied with the setback, staff don't see any significant impact over and above what would exist if the bylaw was complied. The architectural features certainly provide some increased design detail to the front of the building, and in staff's opinion, won't have an unreasonable impact on the surrounding area. So hopefully that paints a bit of a clearer picture for council in terms of where the variances are and what the zoning bylaw intends. and the recommendation in front of council is that the variance be supported. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, CAO. Welcome back, Councillor Carlson. Questions? Councillor Barkwell.
That last photo that we looked at with the red pillars on the front of the, you know, taken from an angle, but at the garage, is that in our report?
Just let me check the agenda. I'm just going to have a look at the site photographs that were included. It is, but at a further angle. I think it's the third photograph in the agenda package, which is attachment 3 for this application. The photo I've got up on I had up on the screen was, I guess, a zoom in of that photo. Does that make sense?
Well, yes, but the useful part was the illustration of the variance and the area that was illustrated in red. If we should get that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Agreed.
Thanks.
Would it be helpful for it to be up on the screen again, Councillor Barkwell?
No, we got a good view of it there, but the information that's provided to council in reports to council and at a meeting should be in the agenda package for review ahead of time.
So that you're talking generally then. Thank you. Councillor Train.
I noticed that this house is right up against the 6-meter setback line. And I mean, it even goes over, but could this house have been built? Could it still have conformed if it was pulled back? I know that there's a large carriage house behind there, but could it have met the requirements had it been pulled back?
Yes, so there's ample distance between the carriage house at the back of the property and the rear of this property for the building to be set back and comply with the bylaw.
Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question through to our CAO. It is more of an architectural design more than anything else.
Correct. I think you can see I guess the encasing of the garage, or the setback of the garage doors is intended to be, I guess, screened somewhat with the design detail that's been added to the front of the building.
Thank you.
Further questions? Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did attend site and took a look at the variance, and on both sides of the garage, where they made that architectural feature come out for 22 inches, is it's plywood boxes. So there's nothing structural in regards to those. They are both just for looks to inset that garage door a little bit, just for a little bit more of a modern look in regards to that. But in most variances that we have a tendency to look at are usually a lot of times a survey mistake by 1 or 2 inches. This case here, I believe, even the building bylaw requires that survey certificates be issued prior to framing. Even in this case, the slab of the garage is at 6 meters. So I say it was a good catch of our building department here in this regard, that they did notice that that those architectural features did protrude past the 6 meter setbacks. So this was this is another case, Madam Mayor, and I believe you brought it up at our last meeting that we seem to be seeing a lot of variances where they're constructed first and then they're asking for forgiveness. So I think that's, you know, that's something that we have to wrestle with on how we want to deal with it. And if a 20-inch encroachment into the French yard setback in this regards is a detriment to the form and character of the other houses along the street, which this is, if I'm not mistaken, is the newest build on that block. So it's, anyways, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Patton. Further questions? Councillor Van Alphen, did you have your hand up?
No, I'll just bring the recommendation forward, Madam Mayor. If it's
Okay.
appropriate.
Yeah, I just have one question of our CAO. Is the encroachment, the 22 inches, I think Councillor Patton said, it's encroaching on their proposed driveway?
No.
Oh, I thought I saw that in the plan. That the proposed driveway ran in front there.
I can put that back up on the screen just so it's clear. So the you can see the driveway curves from the property line or flares out towards the side yards. The driveway itself down the side yard to the carriage house isn't impacted. There's still adequate room between the view edge of the building and the property line for vehicles to get down the back of the property.
Yeah, sorry, that's not what I was referring to, but I totally see what you're talking about. I was wanted to confirm that the encroachment on the front of the building, or yeah, I guess it would be in the front of the building, where the garage is. The encroachment was on that part of the proposed driveway. I wasn't referring to the proposed driveway back to the carriage house.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
correct.
I'm reading that properly. Okay, thank you. So Councillor Van Alphen, I will go back to you to bring forward a recommendation, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That development variance permit DVP 20-010 to vary sections 10.3.6 I of the zoning bylaw, minimum front setback from 6.0 meters to 5.48 meters at 5212 Woods Avenue, legally described as Lot B, District Lot 488, ODYD, Plan EPP 81500 be approved.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Carlson, thank you. And any further discussion on this? Councillor Traynor.
I just have a couple of comments. I'm kind of struggling with this one a bit. I mean, in the scheme of things, it doesn't really have a big impact. It's not really going to affect the community or the surrounding neighborhood at all. But at the same time, half a meter, you know, that is quite significant when you're asking for a variance. And I think that when you're building a large house on a small lot and you're using 40% of your, you know, of the coverage area, that you really need to be aware of your setbacks. And I don't really see a reason why this couldn't have conformed had it been pulled back a bit and they had been really thinking about setbacks. There's no real issues with this lot, like it's completely flat. And a lot of times when we do allow variances, it's because there's some kind of topography issue or something else that, you know, really warrants it, not approving something after it's already been built. And I kind of just worry that if we continue to see these kind of variances, you know, even though they are quite small, that there will be no real incentive for home builders to follow the rules. There is a lot of other homes being built around Summerland, and you know, people go out of their way to make sure that they're, especially when they're building a very large home on a smaller piece of property, that they conform to that. So those are just kind of some points to consider. Again, this won't have a big impact on the neighborhood, but I feel like we're seeing more and more of these, and it's just kind of frustrating sometimes.
Thank you, Councillor Traynor. And this is something that Councillor Patton alluded to, and I have a councillor, I think everyone at one point or another, or more than one time, has talked about this. I'm wondering, Anthony, if at some point, you know, relatively soon, we could have a agenda discussion, added to an agenda, a discussion on, I'm not sure, I don't think it's the fees and charges bylaw so much as the penalties that people would face if they have, if they construct and then ask for forgiveness later. And perhaps only when they're caught. So I'm wondering if that's something that we can have on a future agenda, not too far in the future, just based on the comments of the councillors over the past few months. I think it's something that we should bring forward sooner rather than later.
Definitely, Madam Mayor. I think with the bill, I've said, I think a couple of times, we definitely want to get the building bylaw in front of council or back in front of the development committee. Within that, we do have double permit fees for construction beginning without a permit. So it's just a matter of looking at our fees and charges on that enforcement side of things, whether it's through our bylaw enforcement or the building bylaw itself. So we definitely want that discussion to come to council as soon as possible.
Good, thank you very much. Okay, we have the motion on the floor and it's been seconded. If there's no further discussion, I will call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Councillor Traynor is opposed. So that carries. Thank you. On to item 8.4, Development Services Monthly Report for April 2020. CAO?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this report provides a summary of the development, planning applications and building permit construction activity for the end of April 2020. You can see within the first couple of pages a summary of the applications that are in the system or in the process of coming through council for review. On the third page, I just want to point that out. One of the items, and specific to a couple of the items that we've spoken to through this agenda and over the last couple of weeks, the development application activity comparisons. We can see in yellow the graph there that shows the range of variances that's been through the process over the last couple of years. So this is one item that the Development Committee have asked us to look at specifically, and we're in the process of looking at which sections of the bylaw have been through the council processes on the most common basis, and perhaps the bylaw is out of date and there's some changes we need to look at. So that, I guess, indicator will certainly allow us to bring forward potential zoning bylaw amendments where they make sense. So we'll be working with the committee on that over the next couple of months. And then the building permit activity, you can see the current construction value at $8.3 million for 2020. Comparing it to last year is a little bit difficult. The Wharton Street project was a large portion of that $90 million for the 2019 year. So we'll certainly be keeping an eye on the construction value and revenues through the building permit department in light of COVID and some of the economic impacts that will be coming up over the next little while. But definitely here with our department to support the development industry, moving the construction projects forward as efficiently as possible. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions on this report? I just have one CAO. This might be, let me know if this is a little bit premature. The third item down, Z20-005, is that, can you tell me what that is? Is that the, it says waterfront resort. I'm wondering if it is the waterfront resort as we know it, or is it the new condo development that council approved some time ago?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, that's the existing waterfront resort. There's a group of owners that have submitted a zoning and text amendment for that property, and we'll bring that one forward to council over the next couple of months.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Anything else? Okay, could I have somebody bring forward that report for information? Councillor Holmes? Councillor Patton is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? And none opposed, so that carries unanimously. Thank you. On to 9.1, 2020 Water Rates Amendment Bylaw. And I guess this is for Mr. Svetlichny. Are you still here, David?
I'm still here, Madam Mayor.
Yay, thank you. Go ahead.
So thank you, Madam Mayor. Council discussed the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, not only on the district's financial situation, but also the financial impact to Summerland residents at the special meeting of council on April 17th, 2020. Now at that meeting, council passed two resolutions. One, that staff extend the 10% utility billing discount until December 31st. And the second one was that a 25% rate reduction be applied to commercial, municipal, and residential water rates for July and August of 2020. And further, that a 25% reduction in agricultural and domestic second service rates, but not including the tiered rates, be applied for 2020. So the overall financial impact to the water utility related to the two adopted council resolutions totals approximately $441,000 in reduced revenues for fiscal 2020 for the district. That's approximately a 12.75% revenue decrease from the originally adopted financial plan. An agricultural property, now we're now moving to the residents themselves and commercial property owners. An agricultural property with 5 arable acres will see its 2020 annual irrigation invoice reduced by $241.10. Furthermore, by extending the discount date to December 31st, an agricultural water user will have an additional 4 months to access that 10% discount. So for a property with 5 arable acres, this discount equates to $72.34. So overall, for 2020, an overall agricultural property with 5 arable acres will see an estimated cost savings and payment deferrals totaling $313.44 in 2020. When we look at a residential and commercial properties, they'll see a monthly decrease in their base fees of $9.94 for the 2 months of July and August, so just about $20. And additionally, the per cubic meter charge will also be decreased for the months of July and August from 43 cents to 32 cents. A home or business that uses about 75 cubic meters in both July and August will see an estimated consumption savings of about $16.50. And a potential discount deferral estimated at $217.32. So overall, a commercial or residential property will see estimated cost savings and payment deferrals totaling $253.70 in 2020. Now, with that being said, although council has extended the 10% discount those residents that have the financial means to pay their monthly utility bills are strongly encouraged to continue making these monthly payments. This will help ensure that the district can continue to pay our own bills, which will then help ensure we can continue to provide services to the residents of Summerland. The proposed water rate amendment bylaw is in front of council and is recommended for first 3 readings and adoption. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, David. Any questions? Okay, could I have someone bring forward this water utilities and water rates amendment, please? Councillor Van Elfen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That the water utilities and water rate COVID-19 relief bylaw number 2020-010 be introduced and read a first, second, and third time, and that water utility and water rates COVID-19 relief bylaw number 2020-010 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Van Elfen. Seconder? Councillor Patton? Any discussion on this? I'd just like to say that here's yet another reason to make your Make Water Work pledge in Summerland this year. You have a not only a reduction on your June and July, you have a deferral on your penalty. And again, understanding that we would like you to pay on time if you're able to. And you also have the water rates reduction, so your consumption is reduced too. So for a time period, especially in July and August when it's the hottest, I think that's a good deal. So if there is not any further discussion, I will call the question. All in favor? Okay, has everyone put up their hands? There seemed to be a delay. Good, thank you. And there are none opposed, so that carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Okay, next on our agenda is 9.2, Distributed Generation Program. And is this for Jeremy, or are you, yes, for Jeremy Storvold. Whenever you're ready, Jeremy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is just provided to Council for information. It is regarding the Distributed Electricity Generation Project Agreement between the District of Summerland and Electromotion Energy Corporation. The agreement was in place for 6 years and expired in March. Since this agreement was put in place back in 2014, Summerland has developed a distributed generation program. So that's a net metering program, which is open to all residential customers. So this agreement with Electromotion is not necessary anymore because we have a program that's available to everyone. But it's provided for your information if you have any questions.
Thank you. Council, questions of our electrical utility general manager? Councillor Patton and then Councillor Holmes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Jeremy, is this going to have a large effect on our net metering right now, or are we going to be looking at another partner in regards to this?
It's not going to affect the net metering program much at all. Right now, there are 2 customers for Electromotion that are in Summerland, and our net metering program at this point covers, I haven't checked the numbers recently, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's about 40-ish connected customers. So they make a pretty small contingent of the existing net metering.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, thank you. Is the distributed generating program the same thing as the net metering program?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I thought that was only for residents.
It is. It's for residential customers.
Oh, okay. Oh, so this would be if EME customers would be in residences, but it wouldn't apply if they were in businesses.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councillor Barkwell?
Would the potential benefits of this technology, we'll call it, be greater if your power consumption in a location was greater? I'm just wondering about whether there will we could potentially have an industrial or commercial user requesting to install a electromotion machine because it makes sense for them.
Right now, they can any distributed generation customer can apply under the existing program. One difficulty that an electromotion customer will have is that their technology, the way it stands now, is natural gas source. So under the program, it restricts it to low carbon or renewable energies. So the way they have it set up right now, their application would be rejected in the future, but they're welcome to produce any other sort of distributed generation tech that does comply with the guidelines. So currently right now, the distributed generation program does not cover commercial or industrial customers. So it's only for residential. So if a commercial customer did want to connect, they wouldn't be able to do so anyway. Currently.
Okay, any other questions? Given that the contract or the agreement has expired, this is simply for information? There's nothing more that is required of council? Okay, I see your head nodding, Anthony, thank you. Okay, so could I have someone bring forward the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Van Alphen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The council received the report distributed electricity generation project agreement notice of expiry from the general manager of the electrical utility dated May 11th, 2020 for information.
Thank you, Councillor Van Alphen. Seconded by Councillor Patton. Okay, any discussion on this? I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next up is 9.3 Trans-Canada Trail Maintenance MOU. I think this is for Laurie Mullen, is it? Anthony, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
This is a quick report to Council regarding an opportunity for Trans-Canada Trail maintenance. The section of the trail referenced in this report is from the trailhead at Fenwick and Fife through to the trailhead at the Summerland Rodeo Grounds. In previous years, this trail has been maintained by local volunteer groups. There hasn't been a dedicated maintenance plan or program or oversight since 2017. And because this trail is extremely popular, lots of walkers, hikers, mountain biking, dog dog walking, horseback riding. Staff have been trying to find a group to take on this maintenance work. I was working with the Summerland Mountain Biking Association, but their president made a sudden departure to Australia, and they had some challenges with access to equipment and tools to do the work. And after understanding that the Summerland participates in the regional district regionals trails program, RDOS staff were approached to ask if they would be able to provide core maintenance on our trail as part of their trails program. The RDOS has a maintenance agreement with the province and is responsible for various other sections of the Trans-Canada KVR Trail throughout the South Okanagan, including a section of west of Summerland. The RDOS has agreed to commit to biannual assistance on trail maintenance, which is consistent with their trail maintenance schedule. And by utilizing the RDOS crews, this will allow us for sustainable access to labor support, as well as consistent trail maintenance standards across the region. The Memorandum of Understanding outlines the general maintenance responsibilities of RDOS staff and the District of Summerland staff, as well as partnership opportunities for collaboration on major projects and repair. Karen Needham has just updated the MOU with insurance and liability details, and the revised version is noted as the last attachment in the council report. So that was just updated this afternoon, and the link is part of your package there. And the staff recommendation is that council authorize staff to proceed with the execution of this MOU. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mullen. Sounds like a win-win. Questions for Lori? No questions? Could I have someone bring forward the staff recommendation, please? Or another resolution of your choice? Councillor Trainer.
I'll bring it forward. Do you want me to read it out? I'll read it out. That council authorize staff to sign a memorandum of understanding between the District of Summerland and the Regional District of the Okanagan-Similkameen for trail maintenance on the Trans-Canada Trail between the trailheads of Fife Road and the Summerland Rodeo grounds.
Thank you, Councillor Trainer. Seconder? Councillor Patton? Okay, that's on the floor now. Any further discussion? I will call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next up is 9.4, snow survey results update. And I guess this is for Chris Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, this report is to bring an update to council on the latest snow survey results for our watershed. In the report, you'll see the readings as of May 1st for headwaters were 67% above or below historical average, or of historical average, sorry. And the Eisentalk is at 112% of the historical average. So in the report, I showed a comparison just between the May 1st readings over the last 4 years. There's been quite a variance over those years. In 2019, we had no snow as of May 1st. And in 2018, when we seen flooding in both of our creeks, in Trout Creek and in Eneas Creek, we had levels over of 270% for headwaters and 243% for Eisentalk. So yeah, as far as this year, the flood potential is relatively low. We've had very good weather. Snowpack is one minor component of flood risk and flood potential going into freshet. Major contributors to that are the weather, whether it's severe hot spell that we get in the spring, or if we get significant precipitation during this time. So luckily, so far in 2020, we've seen relatively mild temperatures, enough to create some decent melting up in the watershed, and not a lot of precipitation to add on top of that. So everything so far is looking pretty good. Just an update on what is spilling right now. In Trout Creek system, as of May 1st, we only had one reservoir, Crescent Dam, that was spilling. But as of today, Thirsk and Headwaters 2 are also spilling on the Trout Creek side. And then on the Eneas Creek side, Garnet Dam wasn't quite spilling this morning as we expected by mid-May that it would, and that it'll likely spill later this week, either tomorrow or on Wednesday. So see a slight increase in flows on that side, but again, nothing drastic based on the forecast that we see coming forward. So if there are any questions from council, I'll take those now.
See any hands raised? Could I have someone bring forward the staff recommendation, please, that we receive this for information? Councillor Holmes? Councillor Carlson, were you seconding? Thank you. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? So that carries unanimously. Next up is information items. There are 2 pieces of correspondence. Does anybody want to bring forward either of those or highlight either of those pieces of correspondence? Okay, could I have someone bring forward the resolution that we receive it for information? Except I don't see a resolution there. Don't we typically have a resolution? Yes, we do. Okay, so if I could ask someone to bring forward a resolution to receive the correspondence for information. Councillor Holmes, seconded by Councillor Barkwell. All in favor? Carries, thank you. And on to 11 councillor reports. Let's start with Councillor Barkwell today.
Sorry, nothing to report, Your Worship.
No need to be sorry. Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nothing to report either. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Traynor.
I don't have anything tonight.
All right. Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. Just from the RDUS last Thursday, there wasn't a lot. We've been talking a lot about the same things we've been talking here regarding COVID and guidelines for opening up active parks again, talking about how we're going to do public hearings. And there was quite a lengthy discussion amongst the directors regarding transient workers and how with the pandemic and how that's going to be handled. And we've asked that that CAO Newell bring it to discuss it with the CAO group. So maybe he already has, I don't know. But if not, Anthony, you'll be hearing about it. So it's a concern throughout the region, really. So it's as it could be here as the situation moves further north, you know. So that's something we might have to deal with at some point. That's it. I think the mayor is frozen.
Councillor Patton or Councillor Carlson? My mic's unmuted, I'll go. Councillor Holmes, thank you for that little update about the RDOS. Unfortunately, it looks like a short cherry crop this year. So fortunately, it means there's going to be less labor requirement, both foreign workers and transient workers from other parts of the country. So I guess we'll know more soon because the cherries are currently just setting. They just finished blossom. The BC Fruit Growers Association, the Cherry Association, BC Ag Council, everybody's talking to the province and working to make sure that when people do come, as long as they have a job that they are coming to, they will have a safe place to go. The challenge is the people that don't have a job to come to that still come, right? So that's where we always have to be more concerned. The only other thing I have to say is that I attended the webinar that was put on by Jane Campardo last week as well, talking about the process, the ag tech and the processing facility and the opportunity that we have here in Summerland. And it was really well attended. It was on Zoom, very well received, and there's a little bit of a buzz and more excitement going on now. So I'm really hoping that as we come out of this, we'll come into something really positive. I think that we'll see a lot of demand continue to rise for local product, and there'll be a need for small scale producers to keep on doing creative and wonderful things. So hopefully we can capitalize on all of that, and people will get excited, and we'll have a really good sort of launch point from what we saw last week. It was very similar to what council saw a couple months back. So yeah, that would be my report for the night. Enjoy the warm weather.
Just one, sorry, before Councillor Patton continues, Councillor Holmes is our acting mayor in the absence of the chair, and I noticed that Mayor Boot is no longer on the call. So if I can ask Councillor Holmes to step into that place.
Certainly, that was a surprise to me. I had no idea. Councillor Patton.
Thank you. And I have nothing to report.
Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Holmes. Question through to Councillor Carlson, if I may. Was that webinar announced on our emails? Because I know I've been having some technical difficulties with my laptop. Did I miss that invitation?
I don't know. It was presented to the steering committee, and I believe I was invited as part of the Agricultural Advisory Committee as their council liaison. You could ask Anthony, he knows the answer.
Yeah, so through Chair Councillor Van Alphen, that the stakeholder group has been involved in that process, I think, for the last year or so. So it was a presentation to that group and also the Agricultural Advisory Committee.
Okay, anybody else? Everybody had a go? Then we just need a resolution to close the meeting to the public. And I would, Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Patton, all in favor? And that's carried. And I think we should try and get Tony back.
Okay, I just tried to forward her the meeting invite again, which she's having a few technical difficulties trying to get back on.
And go no longer live on YouTube. Goodbye, audience.